Hey, what's going on guys, Fuad here. Welcome back to another video. As you saw from this title, it's a thought-provoking one, polygamy and having multiple wives. I'm sure just once you saw the title, you had tens if not hundreds of reasons why men should forget about this idea. And I totally understand. Who would want to share their beloved ones with someone else? No one, right? But God knows best, you know. You can be in a situation that you would want a man with another woman, because you'd be in a position where you cannot get a man who doesn't have another woman. Today I will address this topic based on my understanding of this topic. We will discuss the objectives of this practice, and also we'll have some comprehensive understanding of it. Why is it allowed in Islam? Under which conditions? And what are the regulations surrounding it? Also we'll discuss what are the potential benefits and how you as a Muslim woman or as a non-Muslim woman can come to terms with its practice. So if that's what you came for, if that interests you, keep on watching and let's dive into the video. Right, so first thing first, let's start with the historical context. Obviously, many think that Islam was the religion that brought up this concept of polygamy and having multiple wives. However, contrary to these popular beliefs, Islam did not originate polygamy. It existed before Islam. Men would have 10, 20, 30 women. And when Islam emerged, it limited the number of women a man can have. The Islamic approach towards having multiple wives can be described as permissive. Permissive means that you are allowed to have this practice, you are allowed to practice it, but it's not mandatory. And if you practice it, you will practice it within boundaries. You have boundaries under which this practice can occur and can be permissible. Even in legislations, we have something that is permissive legislation and we have positive legislation. So if it is permissive, it means yeah, if you want, you can do, but it's not mandatory. You're not obliged to do it. But if you wish to, then there are certain things that you must follow. And many scholars have interpreted this as a way to tell you can do it, but you rather not. So the preference goes more into having one wife than having multiple wives. So if I tell you you are allowed to have a gun, then you can have a gun. But not everyone can have a gun, or not everyone should have a gun. If you are going to have a gun to protect your property, that's fine. But someone else can have a gun to commit a robbery, and that's not fine. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword. Depending on the person, his own condition, why he's doing it, it could be reasonable, it could be unreasonable. The way you use it, you know, the gun, the way you use the gun, tells you if it's okay or not okay. And the same way it is with having multiple wives. So this is how I view this practice. Interestingly, every woman would start to care about her man more once he will tell her that he will get another woman. We will become grateful about our health once we start to lose our health. We'll be grateful about things we have once we start to lose what we have. And the same thing is with your husband, and men know that. I know a person who was married to multiple women. He was married to three women. And once he divorced the two women, he kept the one that he thought was the best woman. And once she has no woman sharing the man, she changed. Imagine. So men also know that a woman will respect him more when she's not his sole source of comfort and intimacy. She will respect him more. The Quran introduces the allowance of having multiple wives under certain conditions. So there are things that we are told that we will be able to do and we should do. And there are things that we are told also that we will not be able to do. And one of the things that we will not be able to do is we will not be able to emotionally have the same feelings towards all of them to the same levels. It's not possible. We are told that it will not be possible. No matter how we try, it would not be possible. You will love one more than the other. You will prefer one more than the other. But other than that, everything should be the same. To the level that we are taught that if you smile in the face of one, smile in the face of the other. And so pre-Islam, there would be a hierarchy between women. So a man would have one, the main one, and in status she would be on the top. And then she would have women below her who would be also the side chicks of the man or of the emperor. When Islam came, it demolished all this. All women should be treated equally. You cannot have hundreds of women, only have 4. It came to limit, actually, this phenomenon. So when someone would come to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and wants to embrace Islam, and he had 10 wives, the Prophet would tell him, keep only 4 and leave the others. So we can understand that mentioning this practice in the Holy Quran by God was to refine this practice, to restrict it, to set some limitation on it. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, also told us that there will be a time where women will be way more than men. And it would be good if all men could marry at least 2 or 3. I'm not advocating for this, but just thinking about it logically, it would be good. We said already in previous video that we get married to protect ourselves from committing adultery. I come across these problems and they are pervasive. Sexless marriages. Men don't have what they want in marriage, and in the West what they tend to do is they tend to go to strip clubs and they think about these sex workers and they bring diseases to the home. It is not a solution. That's not how a society can function. And so if he doesn't have what he needs sexually from you, he will lean into doing things out of the marriage which are haram. And instead of doing haram, he can bring halal women who will help you in taming his desires. A lot of men will not do it to save the widows and the orphans. That was in the past. That was the Sahaba, that was the noble men. But in this day and age, we have a lot of men who are wanting to change, or who are seeing that their wife is disrespectful, is not giving them what they need. They are so selfish. They get their second kid, third kid, and they forgot that they have responsibility towards the man. They might be unable to maintain the house. They're not working, they're not doing anything, they're staying in the house, they're housewives, and they are not even doing the chores. They are not able to cook, they are not able, it's hard on them. And here it is a problem of how certain women were raised up in their parents' home. They were not taught to do things, they were not taught to be responsible, to be principled. And so they procrastinate. They stay on the phone all day. And at the end of the day, the man comes to the home, they haven't done anything. They need discipline, but they don't have it. And it is an issue, it is a problem. They cannot manage a house. And there are many reasons. I would speak until tomorrow if I would be here just to mention reasons why a man would think about having another wife. I think that a righteous man will consider not only sex when he is marrying another woman, but if sex is missing there, then even a righteous man would think about having another woman and keeping you, for example, because he still cares about you and he still wants you and he still wants to raise up the kids with you. But it's a thing that is important in a man's life. And if you abandon this and if you don't want this anymore in your life, then you should not go and do something that is haram. And he can bring a halal woman in the house or in another house and start another family, but in a condition that he doesn't destroy his first family, which is you. Beyond the Arabian Peninsula, several societies also practiced polygamy. One example of that is in ancient China. If you go through history, you'd see that emperors and wealthy individuals, they had multiple relationships with multiple women. They had one main wife with a distinct status, the primary one, and then they had other women. And it was hierarchical, which is not allowed in Islam. And also in Africa, in many cultures, you'd see that men marry multiple wives. You would see men who are working in agriculture, they consider having multiple wives and having kids from multiple women as good for their work. Translates to having more hands and more labor. And there's also the social considerations. If a man has multiple wives, it shows his status. There is prestige with it. Another reason would be support network. If you have multiple wives, you have many kids, you create a clan, multiple wives, multiple families, kids, a lot of kids. There's a huge support network there. It becomes a village that are living within maybe 1 or 2 houses. So I mentioned these examples to highlight that the practice of having multiple wives transcends the religious boundaries. While the specifics of polygamy might differ from a community to another, we can surely now understand that this concept did not emerge with Islam, and it existed across diverse civilizations among the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks, Persians, and many other societies. Now let's shift the focus to the perceptions of polygamy across genders, how men perceive it and how women perceive it. Of course, the allure of having multiple wives excites almost every man. They love sometimes just to talk about it, just to tell also the woman that they can have that. Kind of teasing her, that they can have another wife. Even if they are not capable of having multiple wives, but they will still talk about it. And sometimes it's a weapon that they use against women to tell her that if you don't straighten up, I'm going to have another one. And those who deny such interest might be either wired differently or they might be having a hard time with their current woman, then they don't want any woman at all. But this is not our topic. On the flip side, it's met by reservations by most women. And this would suggest otherwise might be avoiding the divorce for socio-economic factors and they don't care if he marries another one. And that's a different story. But realistically, hardly any woman would welcome the idea of sharing her man with another woman. But I think that a man who experienced having multiple wives and who still have multiple wives would be less eager and less excited than a man who is still haven't experienced having multiple wives. You think that you will be sultan and you will have your harems, but it's a responsibility. A righteous man will tell you how difficult it is. But if you do it the wrong way, you can say, yeah, it's good. But to do it right, it will consume you. You need to be fair in many ways, spiritually, financially, time-wise as well. If you're with her one night, you should be with the other, the second and third and fourth. You need to be fair with your energy with every one of them. You can't go with one half asleep and you don't want to talk and you go with the other one energetic and enthusiastic. You need to be fair. Not everyone can handle this, whether it is with one extra wife or with two. So many men would bring this topic to tease the woman or to tell her that she doesn't straighten up and conduct herself well, that he will find a solution, halal solution. Halal solution means that he will not order a sex worker to fulfill his things. And the third thing is that men also like to talk about this because it's intriguing. It's a topic that gets the attention of people, and you would find them even on the internet speaking about dating multiple women and having multiple women. In the West, it exists, but it exists in a degenerate way. You're dating 3 women, 4 women, 5 women, and some of them are sluts, they're promiscuous, and they sleep with you, and they sleep with 3 different men. And when it's done in a chaotic, hedonistic, degenerate, promiscuous way, then you have the fall of the society. In the Islamic way, it's put in a way that keeps everything practiced with chastity. The women's rights are protected as well. The kids' rights are protected. The society benefits from these practices rather than getting destabilized. And I need also to address your perception of this permission. It is not to give privilege to the man. It is responsibility to a man if you think about it. So the man is if he has one wife, his responsibilities will double. But imagine if you don't accept this marriage. What will you do? Get a divorce, right? Now, when you get a divorce, what would you do after you get a divorce? What if in your society and in your community, you don't easily get married if you are already a divorced woman? What about your desires and your needs? Don't you need a man who will be in your life? Is it really an option to live your life alone or with kids, just with your kids? Don't you think that you will need a man in your life? Now, what if your society doesn't look at the divorced woman the same way as the virgin woman? Don't you think that you would need a chance to get married again? What if only married men would look at you and would propose to you? See, if you put yourself in the situation, you will understand how this practice solves an issue in the society. Because talking about the Middle East, a divorced woman is not the same way as a virgin woman, a woman who has never been married before. Men would look at you and would question, why did she get divorced? There's something, we are suspicious about it. We want to know what happened. But your chance of getting married can be to be a second wife. And imagine the reason you got divorced was just because the man wanted to marry another one. And now your only chance to marry again will be to be a second wife. Wouldn't be that a poor choice? when you put yourself in the situation of the woman that will be the second wife, you can understand how this can be reasonable and it can be helpful to the society as a whole. And in the religion, we are told to pray, we are told to fast, we are asked to go for jihad. It means battles, to go to battles when needed. And we are asked for many things. And these things are obligations and they have cost. And we have to do them anyways. We have to wake up in the morning and pray. We have to pray 5 times a day. And for sure, if you are a righteous person, you would enjoy praying. But we have obligations that are costing us something. We have to restrain ourselves from sinning. We have to restrain ourselves from doing things that we might enjoy. In the same way, you can approach polygamy and the possibility of your man having another wife. It's part of worshiping God, because God knows best and He is the wisest. And He has allowed this in the society He created. It's just a possibility. It might happen, it might not. And I think if you treat your man well, if you solve your problems in a decent and respectable manner, if you fulfill your responsibilities towards him and you play your role correctly in the relationship the same way he plays his role correctly in the relationship, I think that this option can be avoided. But if the man decides that he wants, you need to know that you either allow him or you either leave him. But I don't think that leaving him is the best option. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said that if you marry to a woman and you don't treat them equally, on the day of resurrection, you will come with one side of your body leaning. So it is a responsibility. You need to understand that this is a tremendous and a heavy weight on the man's back. And if he is willing to take this responsibility, then he can take it. It's not your issue. For a woman to enter Jannah and enter paradise, she has to pray her prayers and obey her husband. So are the things. We have more responsibilities than you have. It's not an easy action that a man does when he marries another woman. It's a difficult action. It comes with a lot of responsibilities and he will be held accountable for it. God tells us that emotionally we will not be able to treat everyone equally, even if we tried to. But other than that, we have to. Now, does every Muslim man follow that? No, of course not. Some Muslim men don't even pray. And that's why choosing the righteous partner is the best option for man and woman. Because many of you will say that men are wanting to practice having multiple wives just because of change. They want to change. They want a younger woman. They want to have sex and they want things like that. And it is possible. A righteous man will have the emotional intelligence that tells him if a woman would be okay for that psychologically. But a man who is 50-50 Muslim would want to marry another woman for sex, for example. It's true. Many are just using these things the wrong way, the same way a man with a gun can go and commit a robbery. And it's not something negative for sure, because if it was negative, God wouldn't allow us to do it. So God knows best what is better for us as human beings, and He addressed this issue because it is an issue and He knows it. If it wouldn't be addressed, we would have a chaos. And God already gave us all what we need in this holy book, and it is addressed, and we know how to deal with it, and we know how to go about it. And the righteous man would go about it the right way. A righteous man would bring this topic to a woman in a way that would make her less disturbed. And another man wouldn't care about what she would feel about it. He would just tell her, I'm going to marry another one, and that's it. Not negotiable. And some men would hide it from you to not hurt you. They don't want you even to be disturbed. And every situation is unique. Every situation is unique. Be a good wife. Treat him well. Treat yourself well. The same way the man has responsibilities to protect and provide, you also, as a wife, has responsibilities towards your man. And make sure that these responsibilities are fulfilled. A Muslim woman doesn't go to marriage without knowing about the possibility of divorce. Having another woman with her that will share the man shouldn't surprise her. Actually, it could surprise her, but it shouldn't be something, wow, new that she never heard of. Because it is in the Quran. We read the Quran since we were kids. We know about it. And it is possible. The same way divorce is possible. It is even less harmful than a divorce. Because if you are a Muslim woman and you live in an Islamic country, you know that we look at divorced women differently. We ask why she got divorced. We want to know, we investigate. And you're less likely to get married again. So having another wife is better than getting a divorce. So don't be threatened by it. Don't threaten him if he does it. And accept it as part of worshiping God and part of obeying God. Have in mind that in Islam, we fulfill our deen, our religion, when we get married. A single woman and a single man are fitna, and you being divorced and not being able to remarry again, you will have always desires. Even if you are old, it would be good for you to be accompanied by a man. This is how we were made. God created us for each other. We can't expect a balanced life without it. This is how we were structured. And if a man marries another woman who is divorced, he's doing khair, he's doing good for the woman. If he marries a widow, subhanAllah, it's good. He's putting one other woman under his protection. It's responsibility for him, regardless of what he might enjoy from that marriage. And especially if he does it, he will have his own reasons, and you can discuss that with him. Because I know that some women feel the relief of having another wife because she will share the responsibilities of the house with her. And especially if you are a mom and you already have kids and you are tired, you'd feel relieved from having to do all the things by yourself. So certain things might have benefits and there are some trade-offs. And the way you think about it can change the way you experience it. If you don't think about it negatively, you can have a better experience. I know that many women might not have the force to handle one man. And here, it is normal. You will know that about yourself. In all aspects, not just one aspect. And the reason I spoke about cardio, because I know that this is an issue. I know that many men are more active than many women. And also one of the reasons you say that men do that is because they want sex with other women. So if you give them what they need and they still want that, okay. But if you don't give them what they need and you complain about them going for that reason, then you also are causing this issue. You're causing this problem. Of course, this is in case if you decline when they initiate it. Because think about it. If he wouldn't marry another one, wouldn't it be less harmful if he went and slept with some sex worker? When we speak about having multiple wives in Islam very openly, it's not a bad thing. In the West, having multiple wives they call it having side chicks. But what if you were the side chick? Here we have all women the same. There's no one that holds higher status than the other. They all have their rights. Before everyone gets married to the man, he needs to be responsible and come with a certain amount of responsibility before he marries her. He needs to go to the father. The father will vet him out. There are things that will protect every woman that you are married. And also, this is for sure beside the judgment that he will have. He will be judged about how he treats every one of them. And if you are a Western woman married to an Arab man, then here I have just something extra to add. If you are not Muslim and you married an Arab man, he might be going against his culture and against the advice of his parents to marry you. His parents would give him advice regarding the kids, regarding the lifestyle, and the relationship dynamic with him might change over a few years. Maybe once you have your first kid, or the second kid, or maybe when you are raising your kid. You're raising the kid with the culture that you were raised up with, and he wants to raise him, for example, the Islamic way. And there is cultural conflict there. And now the man, he cannot leave you because he fears how you will raise up the kids. He fears about a potential stepfather that will be maybe an atheist. And now what comes to his mind is having another wife who will be less of a burden on him. Because now he realizes that he messed up big time. because he didn't speak with you about how you will raise the kids. He didn't speak with you about certain things, and he had a fantasy about marrying you. And when it came to reality, he realized that it's a totally different thing. And maybe the time made you see each other on a more clear way. And now he might want to marry another one, but he doesn't want to leave you because you have his kids. And it's hard to leave you. How will you raise the kids? With whom will they stay? So he can still provide for you and stay with you and open up another family, another household. But now he will follow the advice he got from his parents, which is to marry someone who's God-fearing, who's religious. You know, there are different reasons. And this is just part of the reasons. And another scenario that, just to wrap up this topic, another scenario is that you date an Arab man, and then you marry him, or let's say you marry an Arab man, he marries you, and then you catch him cheating, and he will tell you, oh, we are allowed to have multiple wives. He's a degenerate person, and his degenerate behavior is thrown on Islam, because he is not married to that woman, and he's just escaping how he got caught red-handed by saying it is in Islam. He's a degenerate person, but he doesn't know what to say about his degenerate behavior, and he's just saying it is allowed in Islam. And now you come and you watch this video, and you just landed on the wrong video. I have an entire playlist for that. You can go and watch some of them. But yeah, with that, I will wrap up this video. I hope that you got some value from it. Let me know what you think in the comment section for sure. And I will see you in the next one.